It's a great honor and also a pleasure for me to join you today. I'd like to appreciate Dr. Rapatini and Dr. Metastasio for organizing this precious moment in Terni. My name is Hironobu Fujiwara from Kyoto, Japan. Today's topic is regarding the harm and the benefits of internet use and martial arts as a sport. And from the perspective of ASD ADHD traits and the mind body unity by habitual practice. No COI. I am a psychiatrist and a martial arts kendo player at the same time. In recent years, I've been very keen on the relationship between daily life habits and mental health and their optimized level, focusing on the research of behavioral, non-substance related addictive problems. The figure indicates the concept of our project, that is, a spiral model in which our personalized values influence our daily habits, resulting in brain changes, and the value will be more consolidated. In other words, our main topic is to investigate the risks and benefits of habitual behaviors. Today's two topics, once again, a neuroimaging study of non-clinical level internet use and their association with autistic traits, and the developmental traits in athletes. Firstly, I will talk about the positive health benefits of internet use, considering the relationship with autistic traits. All life habits would be good as long as they are at adequate levels. However, they potentially have the risks for addictive problems if excessive. One of our working hypotheses is the reward deficiency syndrome. People who are prone to addiction have a deficiency in recruiting the reward motivation circuitry as suggested in a dopamine 2 PET study of obesity as a food addiction. The negative correlation between the striatal dopamine 2 availability and body mass index. Problematic usage of internet, PUI, would be associated with dysfunctions of mesolimbic pathways and the cortical regions within the reward system. Very roughly, these figures indicate the higher the internet use, the lower the brain function in the reward system across different neuroimaging modalities such as dopamine 2 receptor imaging and diffusion tensor imaging. The reward deficiency hypothesis is likely to be true across addictions, as explained earlier. A single question is whether it is generalized to non-problematic level behavioral habits. Our research question is whether non-problematic internet use is toxic or not. More specifically, whether they could be an optimized point of internet use for health benefits as far as the level is low to intermediate. In this study, we investigated the relationship between non-problematic internet use and functional connectivity in the motivation network. We performed resting state fMRI in over 100 healthy volunteers. As for questionnaires, internet use was assessed using GPIUS2, which had subscales preference for online social interaction, usage for mood regulation, and self-dysregulation for the usage. Depression and autistic traits were also measured, since evidence suggests that PUI is comorbid with disorders such as depression and autism spectrum disorders. Functional connectivity analyses were conducted using CON software. Furthermore, mediation analyses were applied to check the influences of depression and autistic traits as mediators on the relationship between internet use and functional connectivities. The results. As for the demographics, the scores of internet use were low to intermediate. Depression and autistic traits were within the subclinical level as well. These red-colored connections mean positive correlations between GPIUS2 and functional connectivities in combination with two regions within the motivation network during a resting state. Autism coordinate, AQ, was correlated with functional connectivities of the motivation network negatively, nonetheless with GPIS2 positively. The mediation analysis revealed that AQ mediated the association between GPIUS2 total and functional connectivity between these regions, affecting on the association negatively. Discussion. Positive correlation between internet use and functional connectivity would indicate health benefits of the internet use as far as the level is not excessive. Additionally, this positive favorable association is attenuated in individuals with autistic traits, indicating the importance of personalized approaches for their internet use literacy. Tentative suggestions. The reward deficiency hypothesis would not always fully fit for the explanations for subclinical level internet use. Internet use would be useful for mental health management as one of the common interventional life habits. The relationship between internet use and the motivation network can be modeled with an inverted U-shaped curve. Further studies would be needed, recruiting heavy users as well as common level users from various perspectives of psychological neurocognitive aspects, except for the reward system. Let's go on to the next topic, athletes and ASD/ADHD traits. Of course, it is not always the case, but sometimes psychopathological distresses seems to be found in established persons, including scientists and creators. In pathography, for example, Robert Schumann, Vincent van Gogh are famous for their possible psychopathology, neurosyphilis, and bipolar disorders, respectively. Regarding the ASD ADHD traits, for example, a famous Da Vinci, Einstein, have several unique episodes in their lives. In the sports field, a baseball player, Japanese baseball player Ichiro Suzuki, is very famous for his preference for paternal lifestyle, such as the same simple curry and rice every day for lunch, and tapping his left leg before entering his box seat every time, and so on. The common characteristics of these established persons, including athletes, would be their perfectionism and overconcentration, which are the essential features of ASD-ADHD and are explained as negative issues in a medical context. However, these traits sometimes result in goodness in achieving great works depending on their degree. In Japanese martial arts kendo, the importance of keep practicing throughout your life is much emphasized since the aim of the kendo includes fostering a mentality such as mature personality. As for keep practicing, hyakuren jitoku, a Japanese term, is also a very famous term, meaning over 100 times repetitive and continuous habitual training is necessary to get higher skill and foster your personality. The repetitive simple practice would be the background of the state of the mind and body unity, resulting in a mastery of the natural and automatic manner. I'd like to introduce one of our works regarding the habitual kendo downgrade master's brain, focusing on the interest in the motivation that is closely overlapped with reward and pleasure of human mind brain as a representation of cognitive and emotional perspective. Based on the concept of unmoved mind Fudo, I hypothesized the kendo players are good at changing their brain function from the resting state to the state in which we behave with attention. We investigated the motivation network connectivity using functional MRI during both resting state and during attention-related audible paradigms in kendo players. As a result, we found lower motivation network functional connectivities during the resting state and higher functional connectivities during the task phase in kendo players, suggesting the resting versus attentionally driven contrast in the kendo players that would be possibly interpreted as a consequence of an empty and unfettered mind mushin by habitual training. As well, I focused on the triple network model, which is deeply associated with our cognitive processing. In brief, Salience network plays a role in switching the network named default mode network at resting to central executive network during engaging in doing something, that is cognitive processing. We also hypothesized that the sharpened switching from DMN to SEN by salience network in kendo players. As a result, efficient brain function and better in-switching cognition are demonstrated in kendo players as well. Considering our two MRI studies, kendo masters seems to be at the state of readiness to carry out the task, approaching to a higher stage in achieving a moved and unfettered mind through Hyakuren Jitoku habitual practice, resulting in the mind and body unity. However, it cannot always be said the tougher the practice, the better, considering negative consequences by overtraining. Actually, one of my students, graduate student, Dr. Shibata, reported excessive physical exercise and related body image anxiety and the risks for supplement overuse in interdisciplinary comparisons. In this figure, Budo is relatively intact in these risks, presumably because of a relatively high self-compassion. This point would be of interest in having an idea for reducing exercise addiction and related risks. Considering the optimized level of training, it is intuitively explained the term intermediate level. Nonetheless, the concept doesn't always mean just the middle or intermediate, containing a sense of ethical excellence such as courage between two negative phrases in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics as a kind of virtue. This concept might be good for coaching athletes, including those with ASD/ADHD traits. The main message is the emphasis on Hyakuren Jitoku and the possible benefits of ASD/ADHD traits for it, resulting in fostering both mentality and physical performances. However, not everyone in the world become a martial arts artist or athlete. Hyakuren Jitoku, that is habitual continuous training, should be present in the fields that suit each individual. The optimized level of effort, and sometimes tough to some extent, would be appreciated in educational and therapeutic strategies in mental health. Today, I talked about the internet literacy and physical exercise and the relationship to our brain, considering the effects, influence of ASD and ADHD traits. I was so pleased to have such a precious moment and sharing the precious time together with you. Thank you very much.